Hello, welcome to our first edition of Bryan's Movie Roundup. I'm going to be doing these monthly. I watch a lot of films in any given month, most of which are not uh, films from this year or older films. I wanted to talk through what I've been watching, what I really liked, what I liked more than average, and give you a sense of how things are going. So, in addition to watching things for What a Picture, which is just one a week, I have embarked on a project that I'm calling the Movie Years Project. I'm going to share my screen here. Basically, the way it works um, is I choose a random year using a number generator, generate a year between 1900 and 2022. Then I pick at least five films to watch from that year. So, the years that I was focused on in March started out last day of February into March with 1987, did 1923, 1962, 1959, 1996, and just getting started on 2020 now. So I haven't done any films from that yet, but that will be an April movie year here. So I work through those and then ask for recommendations, try to narrow it down. I do at least five and try not to do more than like 12 or 13. Some of these movie years are really stacked, and so if there's just a bunch of stuff I want to watch, I'll try to knock it all out. But watch a bunch of films from this year, many or these years, many of them were quite good. Gonna go over to Letterbox and walk through my 5 stars and then hopefully have time for my 4.5 stars as well. For me, the difference between 4.5 and 5 stars is usually not a quality thing. It's more of like a gut, like, do I really, really love this film? So that's just the way I do it. I don't think that, for me, ratings on Letterboxd and wherever are just for fun. I don't put a whole lot of thought or agonizing into my ratings, but they're, my gut feeling coming out of the movie of how much I responded to it. So, the ones that I saw in March that I gave 5 stars, Babette's Feast. I didn't realize that this was a rewatch until I was like halfway through it, and I realized that in college I had seen it in one of my classes. I thought I had just read the story that it's based on, but I'd actually seen the film before. I liked it a whole lot more this time than the first time I watched it. I thought it was absolutely excellent. The themes in particular, everyone talks about the food and how well the food is shot. It's great, but the themes of being an artist, of sensuality versus spirituality, and how those two things don't necessarily need to come into conflict. It's all really well done. The last scene made me cry. Loved it. LaRue was a challenging one. That is a long movie. Uh, an Abel Gance, so it's a silent film from 1923, 418 minutes long. It's broken up into 4 parts on Criterion. Um, I'd seen Napoleon already, which is also quite long, and really loved it. So I was really looking forward to checking this one out, and it did not disappoint. It was wonderful. It's got some like Boonwellian familial lust things going on in it that make it um maybe stand out for this time period in terms of the the themes that it's tackling, visually just stunning, use of any and every technique that's available during the silent film area, the like Puchar painting, um, tinting, um, uh, intersplicing film and all sorts of stuff. It's very much a very big swing, and Abel Gance is just so good at this sort of thing. I really loved that film in particular. A couple of the set pieces are really good. I will say the last hour or so, it really slows down in a way that sort of took me for a loop. That last part really takes its time and more like intimate character stuff than the big set pieces or quickly developing plot stuff earlier. And so it sort of shifts in tone, but it becomes this um really wonderful sort of relationship story in that last act. And so once you I didn't respond to it at first, but by the time that that section was over, I did really like that part as well. Oh, I'm gonna need to go faster on these, or I'm never gonna get through them. I'll try to spend less time on the 4.5 stars, maybe. Suspended Step of the Stork. It's a Greek film. Theo Angelopoulos. He is a slow cinema director. It's a film about borders. And the borders we set up, borders being man-made, the way that we keep people in and out of things. It has some uncharacteristically large performances. You don't often get large performances in slow cinema, but Angelopoulos brings Jean Moreau and Marcello Mastroianni in for this film. They're both very good and both have a really strong purpose for being there and give great performances that I found additive rather than detracting from the slow cinema-ness of the film. Next one was Horse Money, another slow cinema film. This is a very weird movie. So the way that Pedro Costa shoots things, he'll shroud the image in darkness. So you don't notice the edges of your screen so much. He's creating shapes within the frame that aren't rectangular to give you to look at like sort of naturally occurring triangles. Light will come in from a doorway. It'll just the shapes and the visual sensibility of this movie are great. There's some dreamlike stuff, including an incredible sequence towards the end of the movie that I don't particularly want to spoil, but it's a part with a soldier. So if you watch it, you'll know where it's coming. And it's so surreal and dreamlike and really meditative and in a really compelling way, I thought. So great movie. Pedro Costa deserves to be in the conversation among the great slow cinema directors, and he's not as much as I would like him to be, but just as good as some of the others in that movement. Or Debt we watched for the podcast. Oh my goodness, incredible movie. Emotionally just so heavy. Uh Dreyer is really strong at religious themes and filmmaking that question some institutions, but he's coming from sort of a devout place that speaking in really interesting ways and nuanced ways about the church. Listen to our episode on that if you haven't. Hannah and I got into it and had a great conversation about it, but loved that film. Next one here was The Enigma of Caspar Hauser. This is a Werner Herzog film. And to me, his collaborations with Bruno S., who stars in this movie and Strozak, to me, they're his best films. Um, the way that Bruno S. gives somewhat naturalistic performances. It's he's a really incredible actor, but a very non-conventional actor because not formally trained at all. Herzog discovered him through a documentary on his life. He came out of poverty. Um, but what the way Herzog deploys him and just gets out of his way and lets him do this very interesting naturalistic acting is just it really elevates these two films that have him. Herzog surrounds him also with a world that doesn't really understand him in a way and rarely gives him empathy. And that choice just illuminates a whole lot about the way that we understand the world. Um, Including a stellar ending sequence in this movie where um, Caspar Hauser gets sort of his ending and gets his last word in a way, but then society takes that afterwards in the last 5 minutes of the movie and distorts it in a way that's really interesting. So definitely recommend checking that one out. Supermarket Woman was so much fun. So this is a Juzo Itami movie. I have not yet seen Tampopo. That is what he is best known for, also starring Nobuku Miyamoto. Miyamoto is fantastic in this movie. I really liked that. So some uh she's, quirky, fun, manic pixie dream girl type of character, but since she's older, it gives her a little bit different of a flavor, and it's not really a rom-com. It's more of an portrait of organizational change that if you've tried to change the culture of an organization, you'll find very relatable and familiar. The ways in which she goes about transforming this supermarket into a better business are really phenomenal. She doesn't always know the right answer, but she approaches it with enthusiasm in a way that I just really love this movie. Fantastic movie. So, all right, I'm gonna have to go real quick on my 4.5 stars. Let me talk through them real quick. There are more of them. I did a bunch of avant-garde stuff. Oh goodness, there are a lot of these. Okay. I did a bunch of avant-garde stuff this month, so I'll cover those pretty quickly, but they're quick movies. Boyfriends and Girlfriends, probably my favorite Eric Romer film. Really insightful about the way people relate and the way that the interplay between character relationships, and that is really a standout among Romer's work. Metastasis and Mona Lisa are both Matsumoto avant-garde shorts. He's using an electro color processor in this one to film a toilet, and it creates all of these different colors, as you can see in a little bit of the poster here. And then Mona Lisa is doing a similar thing with the painting of the Mona Lisa and putting things behind it, and then hilariously he puts his name in front of the Mona Lisa at the very end, like directed by Toshio Matsumoto, who's like taking credit for the Mona Lisa in a way. So I'm not sure if it's a troll or not, but either way, it's a really great avant-garde film. Liked that a lot. Devi is a Satyajit Ray film, another really strong film about religion, and surprisingly the patriarchy doesn't get talked as much about in that film, but I found it to be really insightful. The elder character in this movie basically has a dream that a young woman, the spouse of his son, is the reincarnation of a goddess, and that sort of destroys their family. So, really interesting movie. Really loved it. Perfect Days, I caught up with this when it was available on streaming. This beautiful portrait of working class life and finding joy in where you're at. The Devils, I rewatched and didn't like it so much the first time, liked it a lot more the second time. I didn't see like intention behind the provocation the first time. This time I did, and I was able to follow the plot threads that they don't it rewards a close watch the way that the plot moves. It's not handed to you on a silver platter. You got to sort of work at it and pay real close attention because the visuals and provocation are really the point, but there's a thread underneath of the way the plot moves and the message of the movie that's more nuanced that I caught this time. Pather Panchali, another Satyajit Ray film. You can listen to our episode on that. It's fantastic, fantastic movie. I Was Born, but I am talking about that movie on Felicia Maroney's podcast, Seeing Faces in Movies. So you can hear my thoughts on that there when that episode is released. Seeing Faces in Movies is fantastic. So definitely subscribe to that. Les Doulas was one of my favorites that I've seen from Melville. Having Belmondo there and it being a little bit more French new wavy, there's like a fun freewheelingness, fun and easiness to the movie that I really responded to. And it's very like noir-y. He usually does like the heist or Army of Shadows is like French Resistance sort of stuff. This definitely has like a crime element to it. There's not really a central heist, but there is sort of this investigation that goes on and different character motivations. So it's very noir-y, really good film. Um, Fabulous Baron Munchausen, visually just incredible. Uses a lot of the Méliès uh style, but applying it to later film. It's a sound film and bigger budget than Méliès films were. So it's sort of an evolution of the style in a way that I really liked. The Swimmer is fantastic. That is um a new Hollywood film. Well, maybe really early new Hollywood um surreal portrait of Burt Lancaster swimming across neighbors' pools to get back home, comes in conversation with a bunch of people. Very surreal, very cool. Winter Sleep, another slow cinema one. This is Nuri Bilge Ceylan. I like Ceylon a lot. I can't wait to check out About Dry Grasses. This one, there's a couple of conversations in here. He likes to do really long conversations and just let them play out. This is a long film, 196 minutes, so he'll have half an hour conversations preserved in their entirety. And one in particular between the main character, Aiden, and his sister, Nekla, is really fantastic. So definitely would recommend checking out Winter Sleep. Really good movie. Let me get back to my four and a halves. Um, Reminiscences of a Journey to Lithuania is a mecha film. It's one of his like diary films. So he is going back to the place he was born, Lithuania, and showing uh what his life was like. It's a little biographical for like his early life, but shot very much in the avant-garde mecha style in a way that I thought it was a beautiful movie. Jazz on a Summer's Day is just a portrait of the Newport Jazz Festival and gets out of the way and shows you just these great, great performances. that take place. Mahalia Jackson is incredible, gives an incredible performance in the movie. You know, all of the big ones um are really great and iconic. So loved that movie just from a like spending a day hanging out at the New York Jazz Festival type of thing. Georgetown Loop is a Ken Jacobs avant-garde short. I don't want to spoil anything about it except to say that it evolves beyond what you initially see. It's very short. It's about 10 minutes. Would definitely go and check that out. And then you can read my review afterwards, but I don't want to spoil what I really liked about it because it's a little bit of if you go in blind, it plays a little bit better. Um, Boyfriend. This is a musical spectacle, also from our friend Ken Russell. I was catching up on his stuff before it left Criterion. This is an incredible film. Um, it is really just a visual spectacle, you know. I think some people don't perhaps love it as much as I do because it's pretty sparse on plot or conventional things that you might respond to in movies, but just as a spectacle, musical, costumes, production design, choreography, really, really fantastic movie. I loved that one a lot. Sorry about that. Thought my mic was muted, but it is not. So we are all good. I thought I had been muted for this entire episode, which would have been a disaster. But alas, we do have sound. So, news from home also will be on the podcast this month. Check out that episode for my thoughts on it. Simple minimalism. And after seeing a bunch of avant garde stuff, it was refreshing to see something that's trying to do something different, but not in an antagonistic way. That's what I really liked about that. Irma Vep is Olivier Assayas's probably best film. He's a filmmaker that to me has some weaknesses and inconsistencies, but this film, he also has some real strengths, and this film plays to them. Maggie Cheung is fantastic, as is Jean-Pierre Liaud. Fun to see them both speaking in English in this movie because I understand it and can therefore perhaps understand the performances a little bit better. They're really fun and just a well-structured and interesting movie. Last one is Odds and Ends, another avant-garde short. I've seen this described as a parody. I don't think you can really parody avant-garde because you just end up making funny avant-garde. It, you know, it's unparodiable because avant-garde can be funny, and so if you're poking fun at things in avant-garde, you end up just making avant-garde. So, but I thought it was really great. There's a couple of really funny jokes in it. It's visually very much like a visual overload. It doesn't outstay its welcome, 4 minutes long, and just something that's fun to experience. So that was one of my standouts from the avant-garde stuff that I watched as well. So that is going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed the first edition of my video diary here, and we'll catch you next month.